What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into another episode of My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sleazebomb. Today, we're going to be going over my wide receiver stardom sit-ems for each matchup, guys. We're going to look at what happened in week one. We're going to look at some injuries in the secondaries that can help wide receivers thrive this week. And as always, guys, before we dive into it, make sure you tap that thumbs up, hit that subscription button. All the support's appreciated. I'll be bringing you fantasy football content all year round to help you dominate your leagues. And if you have any questions that does not have to pertain to this video, I try to get to them all, guys. It's mayhem with everything going on, all the content pumping out, but I will try and get to them all, I promise. So if you see it there for like a day or so and I don't get to it, I'll get to it. But it's just mayhem right now on my end. If you guys want to check out the Discord as well, the guys FF, me and my partner Big Draft Energy, we cover everything fantasy football, dynasty, trades, DFS, pick'ems we drop in there. And speaking of pick'ems, if you guys haven't signed up on drafters.com, make sure you use promo code SLEAZE and we'll match your deposit up to $100. We do best ball pick'ems, daily DFS draft, DFS plays, stuff like that. Check it out, guys. Use promo code SLEAZE. All the sports appreciated there as well. And now let's dive into my wide receiver stardom sit-ems for week 2. Welcome in, guys. If you're new to the channel, this is the board. The away team will be at the top, the versus and the home team at the bottom. The green is the start. The yellow is a possible flex. I will define as a high flex or low flex. Red will be a sit for me, and let's get it popping here with Thursday night football. The Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels and Jordan Love face off here. Both teams 1-0. The over-under is 48.5. They think points are going to fly here. So when I'm looking at the Commanders here this week, right, and I told you guys last week to sit Terry McLaurin. The Cliff Kingsbury went and got Debo for this reason, for the screen game alone, and his targets were massive in week 1. And I told you, a 30-year-old wide receiver off a holdout, which is what Terry McLaurin is usually week 4 to 5 ramp up. It is going to be a slow start for him. This is not a matchup I like Terry McLaurin, and even again with the high point total, he's going to be very, very touchdown dependent here. And I'm only going with Deebo Samuel as a start. And when I look at the Green Bay Packers, right, so we're taking the Green Bay Packers versus the wide receivers right now, and you look at last week, they only gave up, as I'm looking at it here, sorry, they gave up 97 yards. That is very, very good. Their defense is phenomenal. That was against the Detroit Lions, 15 fantasy points. This line is going to get after. I mean, Jaden Daniels can be running. Micah Parsons going to be coming, guys. Now, when I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers here, and week 1, man, can you even describe what Matthew Golden being labeled as the wide receiver 1 in a tweet on Sleeper and everything that he's going to be out there as the full-time X-wide receiver? He played 48% of the snaps. Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, it was split across the board. Of course, Jaden Reed comes down with the touchdown. Now you're going up against the Commanders. I don't really look at the Commanders' defense. Right now they rank 7th versus the wide receiver, but they played the New York Giants in week 1, right? So, you got to take at least 3-4 weeks to get some information dialed in to really find the weaknesses. But they gave up 126 passing yards and 12 fantasy points. So they balled out. But this is a different animal they're going up against here. And when I'm looking at Golden, Reed, and Doubs, it's like the Chicago Bears, man. Take the Russian roulette play, pick which one you want. You can flex any of them, in my opinion. Do I feel confident starting any of them? No. But if you need a flex play with all 3 of them, definitely take the shot because it's such a high implied point total game here. But I don't trust any of them as a start right now with confidence. Moving on to game 2, the 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars are headed into Cincinnati, who got the monkey off their back with their week 1 win. Although it was ugly over Cleveland, that's all that matters is a W, baby. Now you have to look at the implied point total here. This is not going to be the Cleveland Browns defense. This is 49.5 over under. They think the points are going to fly, as do I. But we've got to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars here. So week 1, right? BTJ, 1 catch. That is not going to happen again. If it does, I'm really going to be worried about the Trevor Lawrence connection with him. Because if you look back at last year, BTJ thrived with Mac Jones, not with Trevor Lawrence. So you saw Travis Hunter get 6 targets. You even saw Diami Brown be involved and Brenton Strange. They were all more involved reception-wise than BTJ. They had to get him a carry in the round against the worst Panthers running to get him a touchdown and get him involved in the game. I expect him to be heavily, heavily involved here against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, who last week, and this is where the Bengals are going to struggle all year long, is versus the pass. They gave up It was only 129 yards to the Browns in a grunge game. They held the run very well, but they're going to be weak versus the pass against good teams that are actually going to move the ball. And they gave up 18 points to the wide receiver position. They rank 17th right now. Bengals side, it was a rough matchup week 1. Like I said, they got the win. The monkey is off the back. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins held under 5 points. That's absolutely bonkers to me. And we're looking at a 1-game sample size here, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars right now rank 3rd versus the wide receiver. They played Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young gave him 89 yards and 8 fantasy points to Ted McMillan. It was very, very ugly in every single way, shape, or form. He hit, Chuba Hubbard for a reception to TD in the game, but man, I expect this game to be fireworks. I expect Jamar Chase to come back to Jamar Chase and have a monster game. T. Higgins is going to be involved as well, and I think this is going to be one of the best games of the week, like fantasy-wise, and I said this last week in the Panthers freaking Jags game, and it was terrible. This is my redemption time. They're all going to pop in this game. You want to start BTJ, you want to start Hunter, you want to start Chase, and you want to start Higgins. And you got to remember also, Travis Hunter had an 84-yard touchdown. Just Trevor Lawrence missed him. He had a wide-open touchdown as well. I've been hammering the table for Travis Hunter all year long. It's going to hit, guys. Start all these guys this week. The division battle between the 0-1 Giants and the 0-1 Dallas Cowboys. We are looking at a spread of 44.5 here. And when I'm looking at the Giants here, man, they played the Commanders last week. Russell Wilson, it was atrocious what happened out there. I'm still going to start Malik Neighbors, and I'm still going to say that if you need a flex play, Wan'Dale Robinson is the guy that can be a flex play because his volume is crazy. Look at his targets. I talked about this all season long, all draft long. Told you this is one of the freest, cheapest flex plays you could get. The guy had 140 targets last year, which was top 10 in the NFL. The Giants are going to trail in every single game. He is going to see volume enough to be a flex play weekly, and I like him in this game versus the Cowboys. Although when you're looking at the Cowboys defense, they are tied for 3rd versus the wide receiver. They absolutely locked up Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown without Micah Parsons, which, could it be the Eagles, which I was down on the Eagles offense all year long. It's a 1-week sample. We'll see how it looks here. But they only gave up 83 yards, and they gave up 8 fantasy points to the wide receiver. That is bonkers. Now, Dallas Cowboys side, CeeDee Lamb, the 3 drops that cost them the win. This guy's hitting the jug machine after practice, being the leader that he is. He is going to go nuclear. He's probably going to be my wide receiver 1 this week just because he's pissed off. George Pickens, I'm going to say flex, boomer, bust if you want. It's 1 week in, but we're looking at a Jameson Williams type situation here. A guy that you're like, man, do I want to start this guy or I don't? He's either going to hit the ceiling or he's going to have no floor. That is what George Pickens looks like to me right now. And Tolbert and Slayton, I'm sitting. But when you look at the Giants defense, guys, they ranked 24th. They got shredded by the Commanders. Debo Samuel lit them up. They dropped 176 pass yards on him and 24 points to the wide receiver. This secondary is going to struggle. You are in Jerry's world. Give me all the CeeDee Lamb I can get this week. He is going to feast. The 0-1 Lions are hosting the 0-1 Bears, and my God, did the Bears blow that game last night versus the Vikings. Good Lord. But we have this same situation that I was telling you guys about. And obviously Justin Jefferson, found the end zone for the Bears in the game, or the Vikings in the game. But when you're looking at the Bears here, so I got to put it like this. I've been saying this all year long. You have DJ Moore, you have Romo Dunze, you have Luther Burden. I'm not going to put Zacchaeus up there, but he was out there catching balls. Cole Kmet outproduced Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland also rookie emerging. DeAndre Swift saw tons of targets and, didn't do much with them. The running game was anemic. It was a tough matchup versus the Vikings, so you got to throw that out there. But this is what I'm talking about. This is the Russian roulette wheel of the Chicago Bears Ben Johnson offense. I don't feel comfortable flexing either one of them, although Romo Dunze got a 1-yard touchdown on a play action pass, right? The volume is not there. It's going to be spread out across the board. This is why I didn't draft any Bears this year at the wide receiver position. So if you have DJ Moore, if you have Romo Dunze, the matchup versus the Lions is actually not bad. The Lions ranked 21st. The Packers kind of shredded them, 160 passing yards, and the wide receivers had 22 points. Jaden Reed found the end zone as well. But do I trust it, right? I don't. It's one of those you can flex him if you want. I don't feel comfortable saying a wide receiver 2 start. I'd say flex play alone because I don't know how it's ever going to play out every single week. And Caleb Williams looks sporadic. He came out looking like he was going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, and then he looked like trash, to be honest, guys. So it is a tough defense. It was week 1. Don't overreact. But I've been saying this all year about the Bears wide receivers. That's why I stayed away from them. It's going to be a nightmare all year long. On to the Lions side, and we called it, me and Big Draft Energy. If you were in our shows, we talked about this all year long about how the Lions are going to have a regression. Jared Goff does not have Ben Johnson. They are not at home, or they're not in the dome all year long. They have tons of games outside where Jared Goff struggles, and you saw it. I told you that the Packers are going to walk into that stadium or host him at the stadium, knock him off the freaking – dude, they knocked him out the building real quick. That game was over before it started. Now you're getting another tough matchup. But you are at home, where Jared Goff plays way better. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a start for me in this game. You saw Justin Jefferson eat in J.J. McCarthy's first start. You would think that Jared Goff needs to find Amon-Ra in this game. I also had Amon-Ra as wide receiver 20 last week, and all of you guys kind of gave me shit in the comments. No. Now, Jameson Williams, like I said, this is another, George Pickens type play here, right? There's going to be tons of questions all week long on my Twitter, on my YouTube. J-Mo over this guy, J-Mo over that guy. J-Mo. This is why I don't draft Jameson Williams. He's going to be yellow for me all year long. He's going to be a boom or bust player. So I guess my analysis for him this week and probably every week is going to be, you have to look at your opponent, look at your matchup. If they have you crushed, go for the upside play in Jameson Williams. If you think their roster is going to win, you need the boom play. If you think you need a safe floor play, I wouldn't play Jameson Williams because, look, he only had 5 targets and 4 receptions. Didn't look good, and the offensive line is beat up even more now. Pressure is going to get there even faster, and Jameson Williams needs time to get down the field with his speed. So he's a tough one for me. Isaac Tesla found the end zone. They say he's going to be more involved as well here. And I try to tell you guys, man, I've been staying away from the Lions offense all year long, and week 1 only, but it doesn't look good. The 1-0 Rams are headed in to face Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans in Nashville, Tennessee, his first home game. I can't wait to see it in front of the crowd here. And this is going to be another one of those Houston Texan type Titan grunge games for me here. So when I'm looking at the LA Rams, and I did tell you we'd look at some injuries that could be massive in this game. So right now, Ladarius Sneed, their superstar lockdown corner, is questionable for the game. Game time, said updates are coming down to a game time decision. If he is not out there, my goodness, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams are going to absolutely roll the Tennessee Titans in the passing game. But we got to look at the matchup here first. So the Titans last week against the wide receiver position, they ranked 15th, giving up 120 yards and 16 points to the wide receiver against the Denver Broncos. And again, Ladarius Sneed was out there. Did Cortland Sutton, pop the touchdown? He got it early in the game, but then it was kind of a stymied run game. The whole way it was a grunge match. So I am going to be starting Puka Nacua. Look great, even with the cut above his eye. Devontae Adams still saw enough volume. He's still a wide receiver 2 start for me. He'll get it going here for sure. He's not a guy you ever sleep on and keep out of your roster because he could break fantasy football any week. On to the Titans side, and I told you guys to sit Calvin Ridley. I hope you guys listened. You never start a wide receiver versus Patrick Surtain. He locked him up, and I just tweeted it out. I mean, even if you've got like CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson going up against Surtain, you got to temper your expectations. That man is so good at corner. Like the second best corner behind him isn't even close. That's how good he is at corner. So this week, now we got to turn it back here. Calvin Ridley, I'm going to put on a start this week. The volume is going to be massive in this game. You don't have the best corner on the planet shadowing you around. The Rams did play well versus the Houston Texans, though. Their front got after them, but the Texans have no offensive line. The Titans have at least a little bit of offensive lines to get the ball out. C.J. Stroud was under massive duress last week, so, the Titans defense kind of looked better. So when you're looking at the Titans, they rank 15th, right with the Rams, right around the same thing, gave up about the same yardage, 120 and 16 points to the wide receiver. Nico Collins was blanketed, right? So it is just 1 week. I do think Alec Ayamanor, 7 targets as well. He's a lower end flex play for me if you need deep desperation play because his volume and target share was massive. But do we look at that like his volume was massive because Calvin really was shadowed by the best corner in the NFL? That's another way to look at it because I don't think Ayamanor is going to get that much volume again without really being, just in a battle, right? So waiver wire possibility pickup with Ayamanor if you need, deep flex play if you need, not high-end flex play for me. And Tyler Lockett's completely off my board. The 0-1 division battle of the freaking Patriots who need to get on track here against the Miami Dolphins here this week. So this is your Drake May get-right game, right? So Stephon Diggs, first game back, still had enough, 12 fantasy points or 11.8, whatever it was, still around the start of a start flex play wide receiver. The matchup you're getting versus the Miami Dolphins, guys, even puts Keyshawn Boutte into a flex play for me, who had 100+ yards last week, 8 targets. Out of nowhere, the guy puts up wide receiver numbers that are flexible. And the matchup here, the Miami Dolphins defense, all the corners are on IR. This defense is absolutely beat up. This is your Drake May smash start game. We'll get to that in my smash start video. I like Stephon Diggs here a ton. I like Keyshawn Boutte. You know, Efton Chisholm didn't play last week. Kyle Williams, the rookie, getting his feet under him, didn't play much. Pop Douglas targets were completely down. He found the end zone, yes, but it just wasn't the right game script for Pop Douglas at all last week. They played X and Y, and you saw Stephon Diggs and Keyshawn Boutte dominate, which is how I think it's going to go in this week versus the Dolphins as well. And the Dolphins ranked 20th versus the wide receiver. They gave up 150 yards and 21 points to the wide receiver. But you also got to remember, in that Colts game, when you're looking at those numbers, that they were down 30-0. It became a DJ Giddens game with 12 carries. That's how bad the Dolphins were. So I still, when I look at the Dolphins side here, I'm still going to put Tyreek Hill as a start. I mean, if you drafted him and pay the capital, you're probably not going to sit him. The matchup is great versus the Patriots here. Jalen Waddle is still a flex play for me. I know the offense looked terrible, and I know if you want to sit him, that is completely fine because it didn't look good. But still, I'm a realist when it comes to fantasy football and volume. And we know the Dolphins ain't running the football anytime soon, right? So Devon A-Chain going to be out of the backfield 24/7. The passing volume should still be here. Tua looked terrible. I'm hoping he could bounce back. But you've got to look at the Patriots and what the Raiders just did to him, right? The Patriots ranked 25th versus the wide receiver with 219 passing yards allowed to the Raiders and 27 points to the wide receiver. That is what you want to see. That is 5th worst in the NFL. All signs point to these guys having a good week. I mean, if it backfires back-to-back here and the Dolphins look terrible back-to-back, it's going to be a nightmare from here on out. I'm not, rolling them up and throwing them in the trash yet. I still like Tyreek Hill and Waddle as a flex play. And Diggs as a start. And Keyshawn Boutte, if you need a flex play, you could throw him in there. My San Francisco 49ers 1-0 are headed into the Superdome to face the 0-1 Saints, and there is so much to talk about in this game. So, first of all, we've got Juan Jennings. The shoulder came back clean. We don't know if he's going to be out there, so I leave him in red. We signed Kendrick Bourne. I'm not going to put Kendrick Bourne as a start in a redraft league in the first time as he got signed for $5 million. Not doing that. Ayuk is still out till week 7, supposedly, according to the updates, so you got to pay attention there. We don't even know if Brock Purdy's out there, but what we do know is we're playing the Saints, and we also know that Mac Jones can light up a wide receiver 1. If you saw BTJ and him last year, down the stretch, they absolutely dominated. So Ricky Pearsall or Purdy, regardless who's out there at quarterback, when Pearsall is the only pretty much healthy wide receiver out there, I still like Pearsall as an absolute smash, even if it's Mac Jones. I think the volume is going to be there in bunches, and I think it's him and CMC that carry this game. But the spread is low. It's at 41.5. 49ers are favored by 4.5 here because you're going up against Spencer Rattler. But when you're looking at the Saints defense, right? So the Saints gave up 78 yards last week and only 13 points to the wide receiver on a Marvin Harrison across the middle. But what happened was, James Conner and Trey Benson just started to run the clock out and pound it with them. So, the Saints defense is always going to be a problem because their offense is going to be shambles, right? Now, on to the Saints side. What did I tell you all year long? Chris Olave is going to be one of the best values in fantasy football. He didn't pop in week 1, but what you have to like is volume, volume, volume. 13 targets last week. That is what you want to see. They're going to be playing from behind pretty much all year long. This is what I tried to tell you guys in fantasy football. And Chris Olave is a superstar, just has concussion and injury problems. If he can stay healthy, his massive year is going to be here because they're going to pass like crazy. Now, looking at the 49ers and what happened with the 49ers last week versus the Seattle Seahawks, it was just straight up the Jackson Smith and Jigba show, right? The guy had 13 of their 15 freaking catches. No one else even caught the ball. The 49ers were number 6 versus the wide receiver. They gave up 139 yards and 11 points or 13 points to the wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. 17 points to the wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. Looking at that wrong. It's going to be another game where it's Alvin Kamara struggles to run. It's going to be another game where Chris Olave sees 10+ targets, which is going to be every game this year. And I like Chris Olave and Ricky Pearsall as starts in this game just because volume is going to carry them across the way. 1-0 Bills coming off that absolutely game of the year, insane game, are now going to be heading into MetLife to take on the Jets, right? And when you look at this matchup, and who was my breakout player of the year all year, guys? Go check the videos, check the tweets, check the live shows. Keon Coleman was my target all year long, and you got to see it live with 15 targets. Only 11 of those targets are going to show up in the box score. He had 2 2-point conversions that don't count that were targeted towards him, and 2 PI flags that were targeted to him that go away. So he literally would have been the second most targeted wide receiver in week 1. Yes, was it a game in a shootout versus the Ravens where the game script calls for it? 100%, right? You're not going to get a 40-40 Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson game every single time. But Keon Coleman is going to be a start for me no matter what from here on out. You saw the athletic ability on the sideline. You saw the one-on-one. You saw the separation. You saw the route run. You saw the get up, the footwork, the muscle that he put on. This is why I was so high on this guy, and this is why he's going to be a start for me this week and probably a start every single week for me with his touchdown upside of this big body frame. Khalil Shakir, always your volume play, guys. This is like, how would I explain him? He's like your Julian Edelman that doesn't really get touchdowns. He's going to get you 10 points, floor play, targets every single week. You know, he's really never even scored over 25 fantasy points his entire career, so his spike weeks aren't really there. He's just a floor glue guy. If you need look at your matchup. If you need a boom play, you need a floor play. These are decisions you have to make. Khalil Shakir is always a floor play start for me. Josh Palmer, I'm staying away from. And they get the Jets, who Aaron Rodgers just destroyed last week with 4 touchdown passes, guys. Freaking 4, right? Out of control. So they allowed 175 yards to the air and 29 points to the wide receiver position in total. Calvin Austin found the end zone. DK Metcalf looked great. The Jets defense did not look great versus the pass if a 41-year-old man could do it. And the implied point total is 46.5 for this game. And moving on to the Jets, my favorite stack, and I apologize to everyone. You know, I've never been, there's no one on planet Earth that's higher on Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields than me. And I said to sit them last week because they played the Steelers. The Steelers have, on paper, the best 3 corners in the freaking game. Garrett Wilson absolutely destroyed them. Justin Fields looked absolutely freaking great. The new system the Jets have going there, it looks like they may have turned things around. But, again, it's only a 1-game sample size, and now you get the Bills. So, when you're looking at this, you got to temper your numbers, right? Because you played the Ravens. Like I said, the game was an 80-point game of the freaking year in week 1, right? NFL knows how to give you a script right away. The Bills give up 188 passing yards and 30 points to the wide receiver position. Garrett Wilson is going to feast. There's no sitting these guys for the rest of time. Again, I apologize here. You know, all my condolences because I sat him too in my league, and it really, really freaking hurt. I thought the Steelers would be a bad matchup. He's matchup proof. The connection with him and Justin Fields is too good. You are firing up Garrett Wilson every single week, and Josh Reynolds and Lazard I'm not touching. The Seattle Seahawks are headed into the Steel City to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. And man, oh man, did the Seattle Seahawks offense look terrible. Their offensive line got throttled. Bang, bang, Niner gang. I try to tell you guys that offensive line, don't buy into the preseason hype. It is the preseason. Kubiak couldn't run the ball for a shit. And now you're going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And how did the Seattle offense look? Outside of Cooper Kupp, the offense was completely irrelevant. The guy is an alpha, true superstar out there, wide receiver, proved it. His connection with Sam Darnold is ridiculous. You can't sit the guy. The volume is too good. I don't care what the matchup is. Jackson Smith-Njigba was the go-to. Cooper Kupp looked absolutely washed. You know, Torrey Horton, maybe a guy to keep your eye on as the season goes on here because I liked him out of Colorado State a lot, and he's a speedster. And when you're going up against the Steelers, you got to look at what the Jets did last week. Obviously, the air game outside of Garrett Wilson wasn't that great, right? So they only allowed 144 yards passing, but they gave up 18 points to the wide receiver position. And now you got DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, and Calvin Austin coming to town. So, you know, Jay season's a start. Cooper Kupp, if you want to throw him in the flex, you're dangerous. That's your call. Torrey Horton, obviously not on my docket yet. DK Metcalf. Pittsburgh Steelers. This is your Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, all these guys. This is too much volume to ignore. He has to be a start every single week. You saw the connection with Aaron Rodgers. He did, get a flag call back. He had another 20, 30-yard bomb he could have had added to his stat sheet. But you're going up against Seattle. Seattle just gave up 124 to the 49ers, and the 49ers were banged up. It was a grunge game. 12 points to the wide receiver position. Ricky Pearsall caught that bomb down the sideline at the end to clutch the game up. And then the tight end, Brock Purdy making a play there. So, I said the Steelers game would be low last week, and we're looking at a 39.5 over-under again. I do think this is going to be a low grunge game. I don't think you're going to get the 4-touchdown Jets game that no one on planet Earth predicted to be that high of a score. So, you got to start DK. You got to start Jay season. Calvin Austin, more of a DFS type home run hit play for me. I wouldn't feel comfortable flexing him in my redraft yet still, even though the Aaron Rodgers connection is growing. I need to see a little more from him there. The Cleveland Browns 0-1 are headed into the Baltimore Ravens 0-1. The over-under is 44.5 here, guys. So, and this is something I talked about all year long, right? So we're looking at the Browns side here, and you're going up against the Ravens. Ooh, you got to throw the numbers out the window because the Ravens just played the Bills, 240 yards passing, 30-plus points to the wide receiver position, and that's standard scoring, by the way. So even more in PPR. But when you're looking at Jerry Jeudy and Tillman, yes, Tillman found the end zone. Yes, Jerry Jeudy saw a lot of volume. Yes, Njoku saw volume. Yes, Fannin Jr. saw volume. Yes, Dylan Sampson saw volume. What did I tell you all year long? The Saints and the Browns are going to be playing from behind. Volume is king. These guys are still flex plays in a game where they're probably going to be trailing heavy versus the Baltimore Ravens, even if it's kind of a grunge division matchup. I don't think they're going to keep it close like they did against the Bengals at home, right? So Jerry Jeudy or Tillman, if you need them as a flex play, I like Jerry Jeudy as a higher end flex play, Tillman as a lower end flex play. And then you got to see Isaiah Bond get out there for a little bit, who I think is going to be more emerged down the stretch here, because I feel like he was a steal as just a free agent pickup. He was supposed to be a first-round, second-round pick. So a lot of talent there that's waiting to see. But Jerry Jeudy, you got to like the flex here because they're going to be pass-heavy, and Joe Flacco's going to be passing heavy. So if you – Judy's my higher flex, wide receiver 2 low end. Tillman's my wide receiver 3 low end flex if you need to throw him in there. Ravens side, Zay Flowers. What did I tell you last week? Buffalo Bills, high implied point total game. He looked amazing. 7 for 143 and a touchdown. Absolutely lit up the Bills. They choked the game away at the end, but still, what a game it was. And now you're going up against Cleveland. And I know that they just held Jamar Chase and T. Higgins under 10 points, which is absolutely bonkers. Do I think that's going to happen here in a game where you have to worry about Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins? No, I don't. Zay Flowers, when he's healthy, he is a gadget target gobbler, and he's going to be a start every single time because his connection with Lamar Jackson is ridiculous. The way they moved him across and schemed him up for routes and even used pick plays for him, you could just tell that Zay Flowers is going to have a big, big year this year, and he's going to be a smash start. And the Cleveland Browns last week versus the Bengals, they were absolutely lights out. Number 2 versus the wide receiver. Only gave up 59 yards, which is crazy. I do not see that happen in this game again. And 5 fantasy points. 8 points combined for T. Higgins and Chase. What? That's not happening again. You start Zay Flowers in this game. And if you need to flex Tillman or Jeudy, Judy's my higher flex. Tillman's my lower end flex. So 1-0 Denver Broncos are headed into the 1-0 Indianapolis Colts. Now, we're going to look at the Broncos here first, and it was a rough go for the Denver Broncos in week 1 in a matchup where I thought they would run over the Tennessee Titans, but you got to remember Ladarius Sneed is a lockdown corner. Even though Sutton found the end zone, it was still, not that great of a game all around for Bo Nix or the Denver offense, to be honest. Now, Cortland Sutton in this game, and you're looking at the Colts defense. Remember, they had a blowout game versus the Dolphins. So, yes, they are 5th versus the wide receiver. They only allowed 106 yards and 10 fantasy points to the position, which is absolutely unheard of because the game got out of hand. It was 30-0, and they still held the passing game down. So it's either the Dolphins were in shambles because I'm not buying that the Colts are that good of a defense. So I do have Cortland Sutton as a start, Marvin Mims as a possible home run hit in this game because I don't think it's going to be a grunge matchup like it was with the Titans. And Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant, if you want to throw his name up there, they're not up there for me yet. And onto the Colts side, Josh Downs, I missed on in week 1. I liked him as a start. I thought he would eat across the middle. He had low snap share. You could tell that he's still coming off that injury, and they're working him back in. Sorry. Michael Pittman finds the end zone. Had a big, big game for him. It was the Miami defense that was absolutely destroyed. Now you are going up against Pat Surtain, and he probably is going to be shadowing Pittman, but this is an update that is key to pay attention to. But even if he doesn't shadow Pittman, I'm still not starting Pittman regardless because he could be on Tyler Warren. So I'll talk about that in my tight end video, but we got to get to that because Patrick Surtain is on a different planet compared to every other corner in the league. He'll shadow you 85% and he will lock you down. That is why I had Calvin Ridley on a sit. We talked about that earlier in the video. And I'm not starting Michael Pittman at all if that's who he's going to cover, but we got to wait for the updates as the week draws closer here. Now, the Broncos defense, guys, number 1. It's going to be number 1 all year long, right? They gave up 8 passing yards. 48. That's it. That's all they gave up. And 4 points. You're not starting any of these wide receivers with confidence. Be smart. This Denver Bronco defense, and I tweeted it out. I said, dude, even if you got CeeDee Lamb, even if you got Justin Jefferson, BTJ, whoever, Malik Neighbors, whoever it is, you have to temper your expectations because PS2 is the best corner on the planet, and I'm not starting any of these Colts. 0-1 Carolina Panthers are headed in to face the 1-0 Arizona Cardinals, who could be off to a 2-0 start, which would be amazing for the Arizona Cardinals, to be honest. This game is 45.5 over under, medium of the way, implied point total there. And Ted McMillan, man, Bryce Young did not look that great in week 1, but this is what he's known for in his first 3 years in game 1. I mean, go look it up. He's probably the worst quarterback of all time in all 3 game openers. Not saying that it's not going to carry over to week 2. This is a good matchup for him. So I'm starting Ted McMillan. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, their numbers are going to look great. They played the Saints last week, guys. So the Saints offense is terrible, but they rank 7th versus the wide receiver, give up 126 yards and 12 fantasy points there as well, standard scoring as well. So, Ted McMillan, 6'5", still going to be the red zone guy. Got to get him cooking more in this game. You're not sitting this guy. You got to start him here. It's crazy. I had him lower in week 1. I know that, but still, I'm starting Ted McMillan, and it just drives me nuts how bad Bryce looks. That's why I'm kind of like stuttering right now because I'm like, God, I was so high on Bryce Young, and it looked terrible. So I got to take the L there. But it's only 1 week, so we're going to hope he bounces back. On to the Cardinals side, you're going to look at the Carolina Panthers game here, and you look at the Panthers defense and what they did last week. The Carolina Panthers are 15th versus the wide receiver, give up 96 yards and 16 points. But remember, where do the Panthers struggle heavily? The run game. They're going to get ran over all year long. So passing volume, you didn't see much BTJ. You didn't see much Hunter. You saw kind of mix around because, you have J.C. Horn is one of the best corners in the league out there who could be on Marvin Harrison and locked up BTJ really bad last week, right? So I am kind of worried about the Marv start just because of the game script and how it could look. If the Panthers don't stay in this game, it'll be Connor and Benson just leading the way. But I'm still going to throw Marvin out there because, he popped last week, and most people, once they see one player pop, they're not benching him the next week. But those are the mistakes that people also make in fantasy. But I'm still low-end start for me on Marv because J.C. Horn is nasty, and the game script could be ugly. But I still have him as a start. And Michael Wilson and Zay, I'm not even touching. The game of the week. Well, it depends on how you put the game of the week here because they might not have everyone out there. So the game of the week, the Eagles versus the Chiefs, right? And when we're talking about the Eagles, guys, I alluded to this all year long. I do know that it's one game. I do know that the Cowboys game scripted the too high zone to keep them into a run offense. I know all of these things. I just did not think the new offensive coordinator coming in for the Philadelphia Eagles would make it a pass-heavy offense, and that's what you saw was not a pass-heavy offense. But you do get the Kansas City Chiefs this week in a very, very advantageous passing matchup. So this is the make or break Eagles moment for me this season right now. Because if you look at what Justin Herbert just did to this Chiefs defense, he freaking absolutely destroyed them for 232 passing yards, the second most on the week. 41 fantasy points across the board. That's standard scoring. That's like 55 in PPR probably. I mean, Quentin Johnston, 8. Keenan Allen found the end zone. Lab McConkey, 8. Do I trust Jalen Hurts to throw for this many yards in a game where the Chiefs are not going to have Xavier Worthy? They're not going to have Rashee Rice. Pacheco is going to be stymied by the Eagles' run game. Travis Kelce out there alone with Hollywood Brown. I don't know how much I'm going to trust this game script for the Eagles' pass game here as well. That's my point here. So 46.5 is the over-under. I didn't like Devonta Smith last week. I didn't really like A.J. Brown, but he's a big name last week. This week, I have them as flex plays. It didn't look great. The matchup is great, but the situation is not. This could be a really, really ugly game where the Eagles just crush them here because of the injuries that the Chiefs have. So these are things you have to think about. Jahan Dotson led them in the receiving last week. I don't see that happening again. He's not a start for me there. Chiefs side, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, obviously out. Hollywood Brown just led the NFL in targets in week 1 with 16. How can you ignore that? How can you sit this guy, right? You cannot. There's no one else out there. Travis Kelce looked very, very sluggish. He did find the end zone on a busted play. I had Kelce on a sit, and everyone gave me shit saying that he's back and he's going to ball out. He looked very slow. He did not get out of his breaks. He even stopped on a route, didn't even know what was going on. And my whole argument with him all year long was he going to be dialed in for football and paying attention or worried about $1 billion wedding? So I'm not that high even on Travis Kelce, to be honest. So Hollywood Brown, you have to start if you waiver wire pick this guy up. And you look at the Philadelphia secondary and you think, oh, you know, Quinyon Mitchell, one of the top corners. They got Cooper DeJean as well, who scatters between nickel and the side. And what just happened to the Eagles defense last week, right? So the Eagles defense versus the pass last week versus the Cowboys held him to 158 yards and 15 points to the wide receiver, but CeeDee Lamb also dropped 3 massive balls. One of them was a diving ball. I won't call it a drop, but he had a wide open touchdown across the middle that was dropped. Dak looked great. This defense can be shredded a little more in the secondary than last year because the pressure they get's a little slower this year, I'd say, on the front. But I'm starting Hollywood Brown here, and if you need to flex A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, go for it. I don't have them as high-end flexes in this game. Hot Atlanta Dirty Bird Falcons are headed into the Minnesota Vikings for Sunday Night Football, and this is a major one that we have to pay attention here to with Drake London. So he went down on that touchdown catch. The update is day-to-day. Darnell Mooney, also another injury with him as well. Don't know if he's going to be out there. Could Ray McLeod possibly be the wide receiver one in this game? I'm still not starting him either way. You know, not touching that, right? Maybe you'll see Nick Nash out there as well. Who knows, right? With the injuries they're having, it's massive right now. But with Michael Penix and Drake London, they've averaged 13 targets a game for the 4 games they've played together. That volume is too hard to ignore. Drake London's a superstar. The Minnesota Vikings defense did lock up the Bears a little bit last night. You could say that if you wanted to. You know, DJ Moore, not a big game. Romo Dunze found the end zone at the end. He didn't have a big game. It was kind of scattered around. That's what the Bears offense is. So I love Drake London, just purely volume and talent. I'm hoping that he's out there. The worst part is it's Sunday Night Football. So if we don't get the update before Thursday, and, you know, make sure you tune into the shows. I'll keep you posted on everything that I have going here and every update as they go. You may have to put a wide receiver in at 10 a.m. and try and make that decision because Drake London might not be out there. So we got to really pay attention to that this week. On the Vikings side, Justin Jefferson is back. J.J. McCarthy, the connection looked great. And I don't even think Justin Jefferson was 100%, and he still went out there and balled. That's the very, very scary part here. You are going to get the Falcons secondary who just got torched by Mike Evans. And Megatron Egbuka, who, man, I can't stand when people like, everyone was high on Emeka Egbuka. We all know this. So come on. Every single content creator has been high on this guy. I see people like tweet like, oh my God, did you draft Emeka Egbuka because of me or this because of me? I'm like, dude, everyone liked Egbuka. And look what happened. He's literally going to face a top 15, maybe a top 10 wide receiver season already as a rookie. Like, this guy is that legit. This is why I said buy him in Dynasty before it is too late, and it might be too late already, folks. But back to the Vikings here. Adam Thielen, Jordan Addison still out. Justin Jefferson is going to be a start. The Falcons, I got too hyped up on Egbuka, man. The Falcons gave up, they ranked 25th versus the wide receiver on week 1, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 27 points. That's standard-wise. That's 37 plus PPR side. You know, Evans had 10, Egbuka had 21. So Justin Jefferson, you're not sitting this guy regardless. He's too damn good. And J.J. McCarthy looked great down the stretch. Monday Night Football doubleheader. The 1-0 Buccaneers are headed in to face the 0-1 Houston Texans. And in this game, the Bucs are going to get a plus matchup through the air against the Houston Texans. They ranked 21st versus the wide receiver, gave up 221 pass yards, which is 3rd worst for week 1. And they gave up, guys, I mean, 22 points. That's standard points, even more than that PPR style here. So Emeka Egbuka absolutely destroyed. Mike Evans will get it going. Chris Godwin's still probably going to be ruled out. We don't have the update yet, but I don't know why they didn't put him on IR. And McMillan took that nasty hit to the head. And they played the Atlanta Falcons, who had a very, A.J. Terrell out there on Mike Evans, which is a tough cornerback matchup for him. That's why Egbuka was a higher play for me, even though I said this in shows, but my rankings didn't confirm that. In my rankings, I should have changed them. But Nico Collins, terrible showing last week. I had him really, really high. Got to apologize there. I did not know that he would, shit the bread with a freaking 4-point game. But the Rams got after the Texans O-line. It's going to be a different type matchup here versus Tampa at home. They're going to have the crowd behind them. Nico Collins gets a favorable matchup versus secondary instead of the LA Rams, beating down their throat with CJ Stroud. I'm still putting Nico Collins out here as a smash start. So we're going to be really, really high on him. I'm probably sitting Christian Kirk and Jaden Higgins. We don't know if Kirk's going to be out there yet either. But Higgins had time to shine last week, and he didn't do it either. Just a rookie in his first game. Give him some time. But Nico Collins, Egbuka, and Evans have to be starts this week in this game. This could be a shootout potential game. 42.5 over/under. I like it over that. I don't like the under or the spread they gave you. Last but not least, the AFC West division. battle between the Chargers and the Raiders, who are both 1-0. The over-unders are 46.5. I even like it to be lower than that, to be honest. I'll throw it a little freebie here. And why do I like it to be low? Because these AFC West games are nightmare games here, guys. These are always like 17-20, 23-20. Absolute grunge battle games here. Let me move this Raider thing down. Now, when I'm looking at the Chargers, guys, did we think that this was going to happen in week 1 versus the Chiefs, that all 3 wide receivers would emerge? No, I did not. I had Ladd McConkey as a start and Keenan Allen as a flex start. Did not know that Quentin Johnston was going to come off concussion and absolutely go nuclear. So, and now you're in the situation of the Bears, right? And you're in that situation, which sucks here. You got 3 wide receivers. You got Justin Herbert, who looks great. How's the volume always going to go each game? Is every game going to be where Herbert throws for 300+ yards against the Chiefs? No, it is not. So when I look at Ladd McConkey, I look at Keenan Allen, I look at Quentin Johnston, they're all flex plays for me. I know Ladd McConkey, obviously a higher flex play. Keenan Allen, obviously a floor flex play. Quentin Johnston, the boomer bust low flex play. But they're all solid. And Trey Harris didn't even get involved that much, but he was even out there. And you saw a little bit of Keandre Lambert-Smith as well. So it's going to be a nightmare roulette wheel already with the Chargers wide receivers, which is why I honestly stayed away at Ladd McConkey at ADP. I thought it was way too high, even in best ball as well. And, he's going to get the targets, but it's still going to be who's going to hit the touchdown, who's going to get this every single week. It's going to be very, very tough to decide between this. It could be matchup-based corner-wise, but still the Chargers are going to be all flex plays if you need. And you're going up against the Raiders defense. The Raiders versus the wide receiver last week. They ranked 23rd. They gave up 173, 1 touchdown, 23 fantasy points. It's advantageous, but that was all based on a Patriots scheme where they were playing, Patriots were playing from behind, so they passed heavy on them. Drake May's attempts were through the roof. His yards were through the roof. I don't know if that's going to be the case in a division game here, so you got to think about that as well. The Raiders side, Jacoby Myers got his revenge game versus the Patriots, got the win, got the volume, was the flex play. That's what he is. He's your Khalil Shakir. I'm going to give you 10 to 15 points every single week in full PPR. That's what he's going to give you. But if Brock Bowers is out on Monday night, he may even give you more. But the update looks like Bowers is going to be out there, so make sure you're paying attention to the update there. Now, the Chargers defense versus the Chiefs. And you got to remember, they were kind of blowing them out in this game. So they were kind of playing from behind. So the defense lets up a little bit, and the Chiefs got to eat a little more. They rank 19th versus the wide receiver. They give up 195 yards passing, 0 touchdown to the wide receiver, and 19 points. Hollywood Brown 8 with targets. It was crazy, right? So Jacoby Myers will be a flex play, and obviously you're starting Ladd McConkey. He's a higher end flex play for me. Keenan Allen, mid flex play. Quentin Johnston, low flex play. But they all could be startable at this point after you saw Justin Herbert and the non-run game from Harbaugh. Will there be more of a run game here? Maybe. But look what happened with the Raiders versus the Patriots. They shut down Ramondre Stevenson and Trayvon Henderson hard. So I'm going to say they're all flex plays in this game. And if you guys want to drop a question about it, drop it in there. I'll get to it. But it's a tough call with the Chargers wide receiver room right now. Hey. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is my stardom, sit-em, every single matchup for wide receivers, guys. My tight end video will be next. My quarterback and running back videos, those are out as well if you want to check those out. I told you I'd try to get them all out today. I'm working on it. And then tomorrow I will drop all of my rankings. And then Thursday will be my sleeper plays and my smash starts for the week. That is one of my goals, is to get you guys everything out before the Thursday night kickoff this year. So we are out here grinding, baby. As always, make sure you smash that like, hit that subscription button. All the support's appreciated. The Discord will be pinned in the comments and in the description. And if you haven't signed up at drafters.com, make sure you use promo code SLEEZ, SLEEZ, and it will match your deposit up to $100. That is it for me this episode, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Sleaze Bomb out.